So we continue our class, Friday afternoon class, Halachos of Brochos. Today's class number 13. We start with Sefer Chofetz. Let's dedicate this class and the Rabbi Lev Leib Lerner. Okay. And the big topic is the same: relationships. When the facts may be concealed. Okay. There are times when a Rav may permit suggestion as Shiur and a temporary concealed information which could prevent the Shiur from coming about. So basically, it's very important information. So if the other side would know from the beginning, they might not proceed with the Shiur. Okay, so temporary withdraw the information. Let's see. Occasionally, a situation exists as a result of which the people might be reluctant to even consider Shidduch with a particular person or a family. Though, in fact, the situation need not warrant such a reluctance. So we're going to see maybe the family, maybe they are about Shua, maybe this family, that family, maybe, I don't know, many things, right? Okay, continue. It is in such a case that the Rav maybe permit an initial meeting and at times even series of the meetings. Before, at the end you have to disclose the information. That's understandable. But at the beginning, at least start the meetings, right? Without the pertinent fact being mentioned, so that when it's finally is revealed, the person stands a chance of being judged favorably. So many people just cross out somebody like just looking at the paper. His last name, this name, where he went to yeshiva, did not go to yeshiva. How old are you? Like people, how old are you? I said, well, what difference does it make how old they are? What are you? Are you trying to marry me? You're a guy. I'm a guy. What do you mean? How old are you? Right? However, However, it is forbidden to conceal the information until after the other party has developed strong positive feelings concerning the shidduch. For at that point, the party will be denied the opportunity to reach the objective decision, right? And will have been the victim of dishonesty and manipulation. So basically, so at some point you would have to reveal this information. It cannot go on forever, right? Okay. Needless to say that the decisions are not to be made by a shadchan, matchmaker, and certainly not by the family involved. Only qualified Torah authority should decide such a matter. So this is shadchanim. They are biased, of course, as we understand, right? And family members, they're also biased. So you need some independent rabbi who can tell you from a chacham what to do, basically. Okay, stop here. All right, so let's continue. We're on page 96. And the topic is bread exempts. So maybe I've been thinking maybe we finish this few pages and we go to Addendum 2 to see what is classified as a bread. And I was planning to do also the Mishneh Berurah. Because when you see what Shulchan Aruch says and Mishneh Berurah says, it's like I don't know why people have any doubts. Okay. So I'm on page 96, section F, general rules. Less than the Kzayis of bread. If less than the Kzayis of bread is eaten, it is questionable if Bracha on a small amount of bread covers the other food. Right? The Poskim explained that since the amount of bread eaten is not kosher, the other foods are perhaps not tough to eat. So because this piece is too small, so it's not that important. It's like the primary piece of food, and other foods are not considered to be subservient to this piece of bread, right? It's too small. Since the foods will not be exempt by the Birchat Hamotzi, each food is required specific Bracha. That's what actually we follow in practice. Person wants to eat bread, but he does not or she does not want too much and this and that. So, and when it's questionable, when for example, I see that it's questionable, it's less than Kzayis, like thin slice and like half a slice. So we always encourage people to make blessings on all other foods separately. because it's not covered. Okay, so as we said, covering of the food is by individual, not just because I said the blessing, birchas kamotze, and I ate, let's say, two Kzayis, whatever I ate, very good. It does not mean that they cover. They just cover with a blessing, but not to exempt other foods. So here's the individual obligation. If one plans to eat Kzayis or more of bread in the meal, it is preferable to do so at the commencement of the meal. So that's the proper way, as we said. If he eats Kzayis or more, right? I would say like maybe only Kzayis, or a little more. So do it right away, as we said, from 3 to 9 minutes. That's so you would be done. So it's the most proper to eat it right away. Then you start talking to people, this and that, and you forget, and you put it aside, and you like fish, and you like this, and you had salad, and then it is questionable if you ate this Kzayis in 9 minutes. 9 minutes, I mean, it's very, very limited. We try to do 2-3 minutes. Okay, continue. If one insists on eating bread, but does not want to eat Kzayis, that's a situation that I described, I saw it many times, he should first make appropriate bracha on other foods to be eaten during the meal. Then wash nitlas yadayim without saying bracha, and make birchas hamotzi on the bread. Very interesting. He will also not be required to recite Birchas Hamotzi after the meal if he did not eat Kzayis of bread. He will, however, be required to make an appropriate bracha achrana on the other foods. So very interesting, very, very interesting paragraph. So let's try to explain. So now a person wants to eat bread. There is no doubt about it. He wants to eat bread. She wants to eat bread, but he wants to eat only less than Kzayis. So the straightforward approach, I mean, in my situation that I saw, a person said that I'm going to eat bread and then change his mind. So it's different. So maybe if you know that there is such a person and that's what his habit, you have to ask how much you're going to eat before you do. Because as I said, it would be proper for him to make the blessing all other foods, but before he go wash his hands. Then he washed his hands without blessing, because as we said, it's less than Kzayis, right? And right, and then he said the birchas hamotzi and eat this piece of bread, half a piece, whatever, right? And of course, there is no birchas hamazon because he did not eat the whole Kzayis, first of all, and but the blessings on other foods would cover this piece of bread. Okay, that's the bottom line. Continue. Number 2, Kzayis within kidei achilas praas. Okay. Even if Kzayis of bread is eaten, it is not eaten within kidei achilas praas. See Addendum 1. Okay, we're going to see. So that's kidei achilas praas. It's the out time, as you said, from 2 to 9 minutes. Right? It is question whether the other food will be exempt. So as we said, try to eat like in the beginning of the meal. Otherwise, you might even you were planning to eat a lot of bread, but you did not finish this Kzayis like before you start other foods, right? And you don't have no intention to finish until up to 9 minutes. So in this case, that's a problem. So one more time. Even if Kzayis of bread is eaten, it is not eaten within kidei achilas praas. It is questionable whether the other foods will be exempt. That's the problem. Therefore, in order to assume that the bread exempts the other foods, lechatchila, right, in the beginning, like to begin with, a Kzayis of bread should be eaten within 3 minutes time. Okay, so he said 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes time. So basically, you start meal, you go wash your hands, you eat this Kzayis, and the whole food, the rest of the food is covered. If one does not plan to eat Kzayis of bread within kidei achilas praas, at some point during the meal, the other food will be exempt. One more time, last sentence. If one does plan to eat Kzayis of bread within kidei achilas praas at some point during the meal, the other food will be exempt. So basically, we don't jump on him and say you have to eat this Kzayis in the beginning. I mean, that's a proper way to behave. But if he is going to eat later on, maybe with meat, he wants to eat a bigger piece of bread, so after the fact, we said there is no problem. Okay, so it's still all of this food that he ate before he finished the Kzayis was covered. Okay, number 3, eating bread solely to exempt. Okay, one should not eat bread solely for the purpose of exempting the other foods. For example, he eats Kzayis of bread to save himself the task of making numerous brachos. I'm not sure who would do that. The poskim question whether the bread eaten for this purpose is in fact exempt the other foods. So I'm not sure why would he do that, because after eating this piece of bread of Kzayis, right, he would need to say Birchas Hamazon. So I'm not sure what is the rationale, but basically, I mean, they explain his logic is, I don't know which blessings to make, so I'm going to wash my hands, eat this piece of bread, and that's it. It should be the other food should be excluded, right? Don't need to make separate blessings. However, if the bread is eaten on Shabbos or Yom Tov, the other foods will nevertheless be exempt, because I would say that it's a mitzvah, right? Okay, commentary. Since it is being eaten for the purpose of fulfilling the obligation to eat bread for Shabbos meal, it is considered choshev, right? That's the explanation. So the consider choshev that's important meal. So if just to not to say the other blessing, that's disrespect to the piece of bread. But in this case, it's that's part of the mitzvah. Part number 4. Foods which were not specifically intended for the meal. Okay. Generally, bracha covers only those items which one intends to eat at the time he made bracha. When a person makes birchas hamotzi, in most instances, he does not consciously think about which foods he plans to eat. Right? I mean, you say birchas hamotzi, and you're planning to eat whatever is there. The average person does not wish to limit himself to eating any specific food. Second. So one more time. The average person does not wish to limit himself of eating any specific food. So basically, he was right? And he's going to eat bread, and he's going to eat whatever he's going to eat. There's no exceptions. We assume, therefore, halachically, that when one sits down to a meal, he wishes to include any food in the house which may be subsequently eat. He may subsequently. Okay, so everything is included. For example, one makes birchas hamotzi and sits down to a meal which he has prepared. Finding himself still hungry after completing all of the prepared courses, he removes some food from the freezer and warms himself second supper. Okay, they call it second supper. Okay, one was not enough, so okay. Since it is not uncommon to incorporate into the meal other foods than those which are initially prepared for the meal, it is considered halachically that he had intention to eat these frozen foods as well. So very interesting explanation, very straightforward. So person prepared a meal, he prepared dinner, and he ate whatever he prepared, and then it's not enough, so he went and prepared something else. So and this something else is still covered. If we say about individual brachas, it was not be covered. But in case of birchas hamotzi, it is covered because that's what people usually do, right? They go check refrigerator. What else is there? If it is one's practice to occasionally borrow food from a friend or neighbor when eating his meal, then the items brought during the meal are also included in his original bracha. Yes, he's taken from his plate. I don't know. Similarly, if one's relative or friend occasionally sends over foods for him to eat during his meal, it is included in his bracha. So basically, all of the foods that he might expect somehow to get extra that he didn't count on. So initially, so it's still included in this birchas hamotzi, which is I think good. Okay. However, if it is not the practice to receive food from the outside sources, the food he receives not covered by birchas hamotzi and required appropriate bracha. Okay. So So we finished this. I think we have to go now to the bread family and see definition of the bread family. 1 second. So I'm not sure why they put it in the middle of the book, but it's a different issue. Bread and bread products 259. Okay, so we're going to see. So we just spoke about bread, what bread covers, does not cover. Now let's see what is the bread. Okay, yeah, what is the bread family? In chapter 5, that's I think what we just concluded. Yeah. So in chapter 5, we just concluded. We learned that foods which are eaten as a dessert are often not covered by the birchas hamotzi and require separate bracha. This applies to fruit, candy, ice cream, and the like. Okay. However, products which are classed as a bread do not require separate bracha. Okay. Mizonus products. So like these desserts are not covered, right? But they say some items that are considered bread-like from a bread family, so they might be covered. Let's see. Mizonus products, which is indisputably classed as a pas Haboh b'kisnin. Okay, we're going to explain what is it. In the bread family, but not bread, are dissimilar enough to bread and would, in certain cases, require a separate bracha. An example definition pas Haboh b'kisnin is apple pie, right? So, on one hand, it's the bread family, but not bread. So it's a bread family. Bread family meaning that they make a dough as they would do for bread. Maybe they add some sugar, this and that, but to bread they also add sugar. So it does not mean that it's not bread, right? And they make these things from a bread family, right? As we're going to see, right? So they're not covered by birchas hamotzi. Okay. Unless, as we said before, many times we explained, if it's that's all he's going to eat. He's going to eat this piece of bread he has, and like a quarter of apple pie and coffee. That's all his meal, basically, right? So in this case, this apple pie would be included because it's part of his meal. Okay. This addendum deals with defining a basic criteria used in determining whether a particular product is considered bread, pas Haboh b'kisnin, or neither. Okay. So one more time, we're going to read and explain. This addendum deals with the basic criteria commentary for further application of these halachas discussed in this addendum, and for many additional halachas related to the classification of baked goods. See Shulchan Aruch or Chaim 168. That's my plan to go over this as well. Be'Ezrat Hashem. Okay. So one more time. This addendum deals with defining the basic criteria used to determine whether a particular product is considered bread, pas Haboh b'kisnin, or neither. Okay, bread, pas Haboh b'kisnin meaning from a bread family, or neither. So neither would be, I would say, maybe spaghetti. Right? It's neither. Okay. Bread. Okay, definition of bread. There are 3 criteria which must be met in order to consider a product as bread. Number 1, it must be made with a wheat, barley, spelt, oats, and rye flour. Okay, so one of these 5 species. Okay. First, so basically, if it's made of what should we call this rice flour, so it's not bread. I mean, it looks like bread, but it's not bread. Okay. Number 2, people will commonly use such a product as a mainstay of their meal. There is a derech b'nei adam like bo alav. Okay, so what other people use is like a center of the meal. Okay. Number 3, it has purisa denachama, bread-like properties and appearance. So what does it mean? There is a denachama. Is explained Shulchan Aruch or Chaim 168. Generally, baked products made of flour with Turisa, have Turisa Benachama. Flour-based products which are processed in a way other than being baked, such as noodles and the like, are not have Turisa Benachama. So they do not have the look of the bread. Right? Okay. Continue. So one more time, three things. So the flour, wheat, barley, spelt, oats, or rye flour. Second, people usually use this product as a mainstay of the meal. And the third one is that it looks like bread. Right. So one of the definition looks like bread. It has crust. Right, and it was baked in the oven, not in the water. Right, not boiled in the water. Products which meet this criteria are classed as bread. The appropriate bracha for such a products is hamotzi, regardless of the amount consumed. Okay. B. Pas Haboh bekisnim. Baked goods which are not commonly used for as a mainstay of one's meal, but do have bread-like property and an appearance. Terusa den Nachama, a general class in a category called Pas Haboh bekisnim. So in bread family, there is a difference of opinion as to which specific types of baked products are designated Pas Haboh bekisnim. So we have the same three, but let's see. Some Rishonim define Pas Haboh bekisnim as a dough filled with fruit or other fillings. For example, apple pie. So that's a classic example of the Pas Haboh bekisnim. So bread family. Next one. Another Rishonim say that it refers to the dough made with a lot of fruit juice, oil, honey, eggs, sugar, or spice. For example, sponge cake, chocolate cake, and most other cakes. So those in many of them, I think in sponge cake, in all similar cakes, they don't even use water. I think they use eggs, right? Or just very little water at least. So that's a second category. So first one more time, filled with fruits. Second, or not only with fruits, even with meat, right? Vegetables. Second one is that was mixed, right? Was with mixed with juice, oil, honey, egg, sugar, and spice. Okay. So it's second opinion, third opinion. The other Rishonim define it as a baked product which have dry, crumbly consistency, right? For example, pie crust, pretzels, right? So I mean, but pretzels, when we say pretzels, not soft big pretzels, but dry pretzel. Right? That's what we're talking about. Or crackers. That's third definition of Pas Haboh bekisnim. Note, although these products are not actually bread, if one is kavoya seuda, makes a mainstay of his meal using Pas Haboh bekisnim, it is treated halachically as bread and required nitalas yadayim, birchas hamotzi, and birchas hamazon. So basically, if you eat one of these, apple pie, I think it would be hard to eat so much. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. But others, let's say, for these pretzels, that other things like cake, it's very simple. So we say approximately 8 ounces if he ate. So he would need to, if that's what he's going to eat, and he knows, like in the beginning, that's what he's going to eat, and the whole suda. So basically, he goes, washes his hand, and say nitalas yadayim, birchas hamotzi, and birchas hamazon, because he's going to eat so much. Okay. A meal consisted of eating Kzayis of cake would be treated as a bread meal according to many poskim. 8 Kzayis. I'm sorry. A meal consists of 8 Kzayis of cake, as we said before, 8, right? Would be treated as a bread meal according to many poskim. That's for example, but we'll see in Shulchan Aruch said it's not actually that. He said 3 or 4, and how do they derive 3 or 4 Kzayis? It's very interesting from the laws of Eruv. We're going to learn Be'Ezrat Hashem. So, but here they say they go by stricter opinion 4. Okay, I mean 8. 4 eggs. I mean 4 eggs. Right? So it's 8 ounces. Thus, for example, one should not eat a breakfast of 2 large danishes unless he intends to wash and eat bread. So commentary. In Addendum 1, we learn that Kzayis is equal to amount of which will displace about 1 fluid ounce. So as we said before, what is Kzayis? It's actually volume. It's not weight, but volume. But we transfer this volume, translate this volume into weight. Otherwise, everybody would go crazy. That's my personal addition. A good approximation of Kzayis is a half of the center slice of the large rye bread. Okay. So if you have rye bread, I mean, maybe it's standard, maybe not. I'm not sure. So and the middle slice, half of this is a Kzayis. Okay. That's a good approximation of 8 Kzaysim is about 4 center slices of a large rye bread. So that's how much it's weight. Okay. Just one second. So in this example, we said if he is going to eat 2 large danishes, and it's not so much food. I mean, there's danishes and plus all of this like inside this apple or whatever they have inside, cherry, right? Cherry danish. So it's very easy for them to be 8 ounces. Very easy. They're very heavy. So commentaries say for further detail regarding the halacha, see Shulchan Aruch or Chaim 168. That's my plan to go through it in all of the details. Be'Ezrat Hashem. Number 1, product which have all 3 characteristics. So that's like straightforward example. Let's see. Okay. Characteristic. Products which have all 3 characteristics of Pas Haboh Kisnin are indisputably not bread. For example, apple pie is Pas Haboh Kisnin according to all views. So I mean it's filled with what is it? With the fruits, right? It has filling. Okay, the dough is made with a lot of sugar. Okay, and it has dry consistency. All right, so I guess dry because otherwise you would not be able to lift it, right? So I mean, even if you cut it, so it's going to fall apart. That's I mean my guess, my personal guess why they do it, make it dry. Okay, so it's dry, fill the fruits and what is it, right? And has a lot of sugar in the dough. Continue. The Bracha Rishonah for Pas Haboh Kisnin is Baremene Mizoines. Right, very very clear. Commentary. Except when one makes Pas Haboh Kisnin, he mainstay of the meal. Okay, as we said before. So if he planning to eat 8 ounces, that's he would say chamotz, right? Regarding the bracha achrana for cakes, for cakes with filling, see Addendum 1, section C2. Okay, we're going to get. Okay, products which have all 3 characteristics is eaten as a dessert are indisputably not exempt for birchas hamotzi on the bread and would require separate bracha. For example, if one ate apple pie for a dessert and not for satiation, the separate bracha would be required. So with all of these things, as we say, Pas Haboh Kisnin, or it's a crackers at the end of the meal, so it would be like a dessert, right? It would be dessert, so you would need to make a separate blessing. Okay. If it's for satiation, for example, it's not enough food for him. He ate 2 slices of bread, it's not enough, and he wants to eat more crackers because he's still hungry. So that's a different situation. But if it's at the end of the meal and he's full and he's been eating for 3 hours non-stop, so he makes a blessing. Okay. However, often people are particularly hungry at the conclusion of their meal and eat a pie for additional satiation as well. As for it's the dessert quality. In such a case, it would not require bracha, as explained in chapter 5. So basically, if at the end of the meal he was sitting around this table for 3 hours, now he still feels hungry. I'm not sure why. So okay, so now then if he eats this apple pie for satiation, it is included in Birchas Hamotzi. If not, if it's only for sweet taste and he already overate 2 hours ago, so that's a different story. Okay, number 2. So number 1 was products which have all 3 characteristics. That's a straightforward, simple example. Okay, next one. The products which have one of the 3 characteristics, most type of the cakes and crackers. So meaning that okay, they've been made with a lot of sugar. Let's say maybe apple juice, maybe honey, right? But there is no fruits, right? So there is no, as the Shulchan Aruch call it, packets. Okay, no problem. So that's one of the 3 basically. Okay. If product has only one of the 3 characteristics of Pascha Rabbi Kisnin, it is questionable as to whether it belongs under the classification of bread or cake. Okay, so let's see one more time. If product has only one of 3 characteristics of Pascha Rabbi Kisnin, it is questionable as to whether it belongs under the classification of bread or cake. Therefore, when determining if one must wash, make the Birchas Hamotzi and bench for such a product, the uncertainty causes us to place them in a cake category. So one more time, and we're going to explain. Therefore, when determining if one must wash, make a Birchas Hamotzi and bench for such a product, if it has only one of the attributes, right? The uncertainty causes us to place them in the cake category. Okay, so see what's going on here. However, when the judging if they required the bracha when eating during the meal, the uncertainty again causes us to take the opposite position, to regard them as bread, which would not require the separate bracha. Since the bracha requirement is questionable, the separate bracha may not be made on cake eaten during the meal. Okay, so let's do this piece from the beginning, and we're going to explain. Oh, there is commentary. Okay. However, when one judging if they require a bracha when eating during the meal, that certainly again causes us to take the opposite position. So before we say, okay, maybe since we do not know, so let's call it a cake, a sponge cake, right? Now we say no. Opposite position. So maybe it's bread. Well, why saying cake? Maybe it is bread, which not required separate bracha. So if you eat one bread with another bread, so there is no problem whatsoever. You don't need separate blessings. Commentary. In chapter 16, we learn about the principle of sofer bracha lechokel. Under the principle, in most cases, when the requirements to make bracha is in doubt, the food may be eaten without new bracha. So since we're trying to be careful not to say unnecessary blessings, so in this case, as we said, we don't make another blessing. Okay. Since the bracha requirements is questionable, a separate bracha may not be made on a cake eaten during a meal. So that's the thing. So during the meal, maybe it's for satiation, maybe it's like bread. So, but after the meal, it's not for satiation, so it's different story basically. Or if it's at the end of the meal for satiation, so it comes under this rule again, right? So no blessing is necessary. The poskim advise that since in many cases making bracha for cake eaten during the meal is questionable. I'm not sure why he would eat cake during the meal, but I don't know. One should have specific intent when making hamosi to exempt any cake he might subsequently eat during the meal. Okay, so that's a good solution. So now let's say it's his custom to eat the sweet cake during with his cholent, let's say, right? So well, it's his custom. That's the way he likes it, right? So in this case, he has to have intention. That's how I like it when he makes hamotzi, and it is covered. There is no problem. Okay. Just the index of this volume has been combined with volume 2 and moved to page 541. Okay, let me go to 541 and see what is going on there. Okay, so it's gloss. I don't know. What else? So we stop. So we finish with this. I think should we go to Mishneh Berurah? Okay, so we have time. Let's do a little Mishneh Berurah. Okay. Second. So same 168. Okay, so maybe it would seem a little longer explanation, but I think it's very beneficial for us to cover all of the cases from Mishneh Berurah. Okay, 1 second. 168. Okay, so 168, Mishneh Berurah, the Shulchan Aruch. And the topic is, over which class of bread should one make the blessing? Okay, contains 17 paragraphs. So I'm going to read the CF number 1, and then we're going to go back with commentaries. So without commentaries, CF 1. If one has in front of him both cut bread and whole loaf of bread, and all bread is baked, and all the bread is baked from the same species of grain, he should make the blessing over the whole loaf. This even applies if the whole loaf is bread which is baked from impure flour. Okay, so it's same flour but impure. Okay, we're going to see what impure means, and is small, and the cut bread is baked for the pure flour and large. So as from here we see, and we learn in the Hilchas Shabbos that when the bread is whole, so it's more we give it more priority. In some cases, it depends on the flour also, but we'll see. However, if the whole bread is of barley, and cut bread is of wheat, so wheat is, as we said, in a higher status because in a verse when what we said today, right? Wheat, so wheat is the first item in a verse. Then one should be put a starter loaf of wheat bread underneath the loaf of barley, right? So barley is on top, wheat on the bottom, right? That's what Shulchan Aruch says. Even if the cut bread is a smaller loaf, and even if he has made the blessing, he should break off the bread of bread to be eaten following the blessing from both of them. So he cuts like one on top of the other. Since one is whole, one is from more choshev flour, so he takes two and cuts two of them. Okay, gloss. When we say gloss, it's Ramah, Ashkenazi authority, right? All this only applies if one wishes to eat from both loaves. But if one merely wishes to eat from one or one of them, he should perform the breaking of the bread with that loaf, right? Only if you want to eat from two, that's what you do. If you want to eat from one, so just cut whatever you like, right? And should not bother about the other loaf, even though it is a more distinguished loaf or he is founded over it. So basically, it does not matter. So in this case, we're going to see the explanation. So we give priority to what he likes in this case. Okay, so let's do from the beginning and explain. Okay, from the beginning. If one has in front of him both cut bread and a whole loaf of bread, and all the bread is baked from the same species of grain, so it's same, right? He should make the blessing over the whole loaf. So one is cut, one is not cut. So making blessing on uncut one, but they must be from the same flour. Commentary. When I say commentary, it's Mishneh Berurah. In order to honor the mitzvah of making a blessing over the bread by performing it attractively, right? Attractive meaning when nobody cut anything from that piece. If one only had started the loaf in front of him, and took hold of it to make the blessing over it, and the whole loaf was brought before him. In the meanwhile, he should put the started loaf together with the whole loaf and make the blessing over the both of them. So basically, he had only started one, and somebody brought him now the whole one. So he should combine them together and make the blessing on two. However, if he already made the blessing over the started loaf, started meaning that he already started to cut, he should break off the piece to be eaten, follow the blessing from the started loaf. So if he already may make a blessing, don't put it aside and start doing other things. So just continue eating. Continue with Shulchan Aruch. This even applies if the whole loaf is a bread which is baked from impure flour. Right? What does it mean, impure flour? Is a brand, right? This is because the advantage of the wholeness is to be performed for the blessing even in these circumstances. So even one is from impure flour. Impure meaning, like as I said, brand. It's not sifted as good, maybe not such a quality, but species is the same. So one more time, the whole sentence. This even applies if the whole loaf is a bread which baked from impure flour and is small, right? It is small, and the cut bread is a bread baked from a pure flour and is large. So okay, he's very clear. So the whole loaf takes precedence. Continue Shulchan Aruch. However, if the whole loaf is a barley, right, and the cut bread of wheat, then one should put the starter loaf of wheat bread and underneath the whole loaf of the barley for the blessing. So wheat on top, barley on the bottom. Even if the cut bread is a smaller, right, but it was wheat, right, smaller but wheat. And after he has made the blessing, he should break off the bread to be eaten following the blessing from both of them together. So meaning he's trying to go in this case. Shulchan Aruch is saying that in some cases try to go according to all of the opinions. One opinion that is whole, another opinion that it's more important flour. Okay, so now he put two breads together, and that's what happens. And he cuts from two. Mishneh Berurah. One should put the starter, etc. Right? He should do so in order to have for the blessing the advantage of the whole loaf, meaning the whole loaf is on top, right, and cut on the bottom. Advantage of the whole loaf, which is of barley, an advantage of the wheat, which is more distinguished than barley, since it is mentioned early in a verse. Okay, it's Dvarim 8:8. Okay. At least the 7 species for which the land of Israel is praised, which is worded as a land of wheat, barley, etc. So wheat, as we understand, so wheat first, barley second, and we go exactly according to the order of the verse. It is explained in the Talmud, Brachot 39b, that from the basic halachic standpoint, the starter loaf of wheat is to be preferred. So even if it was started, so it's not whole, but wheat is preferred. Okay, that's what Gemara says, very interesting. To the blessing of the whole loaf of barley. And one is only required to put the starter of wheat loaf underneath the whole loaf of barley, etc., in order to fulfill one's duty to heaven as ideally as possible, with all advantages for the blessing. So basically, it's not necessary. You can eat as Shulchan or Rama is going to say later on, you can eat from any bread, but if you want to be God-fearing person, you're going to want to go according to all of the opinions, so that's what you do. The Maggid Abraham states that despite this ruling, if the whole loaf is bread that is made of rye, the whole loaf is made of rye, interesting, which is what we call grain. That is what most of our bread is baked, right? Baked from, and the starter loaf is wheat. And likewise, if it is of barley, so of course wheat is higher than barley and rye, as we understand. Right? One need not be stringent and perform the breaking of the bread with both the whole loaf and the started loaf, but may perform the breaking of the bread solely with the started loaf. So whatever he likes. Right? This is because rye, right? Rye is an even less distinguished article than barley, since it is not mentioned explicitly of the verse. So let's see, commentaries say there is in verse 8:8, which lists 7 species. So barley is not, rye is not there, and spelt also is not there. But we derive so because not really, our rabbis derive because it's very similar characteristics. Okay, continue. So one more time, one should put the starter loaf of bread underneath the whole loaf of barley, right, for the blessing, even if the cut bread is smaller loaf. Okay, and after he made the blessing, so he should break off from 2 breads. Okay, comment number 4. Even if the starter loaf is larger than the whole loaf, it is desirable to put the 2 of them together. So very interesting. Even the starter is larger, properly to put 2 of them together. Okay, almost finished. Gloss. All this only applies if one wishes to eat from both loaves. But if one merely wishes to eat from one, wishing to any one of them, he should perform the breaking of the bread with that loaf. So makes our life a little easier. So okay, so he said that just eat whatever you want, and should not bother about the other loaf. I mean, unless he wants to eat from it. So if he wants to eat from both loaves, maybe it's not such a big loaf. So that's one thing. But if one is enough, so he can do from whatever he wants, even though it is a more distinguished loaf, or he is founded of it. Okay, so more distinguished, or he likes it more. So up to him. Commentary. Mishneh Berurah. He comments on, and should not bother about the other, even though the other loaf is in front of one, right, and is baked and is baked from a species which is mentioned earlier. So in the verse, one is found of it, or it is a more distinguished. One is nevertheless not obliged to eat from it because the fact of his preference. Right, Beis Yosef and Tas. So when you're going to read to learn in that book in Laws of Brochos, so in some cases the personal preference takes precedence, not what we want, not what Halachos says. So, I mean that's Halach in some cases. It seems logical that this ruling applies only if one solely wishes to eat from the other inferior loaf. But if he is equally willing to eat from either of the loaves, although he does not wish to eat from both of them, and they are both lying in front of him, he will fulfill the mitzvah in a choice manner if he performs the breaking of the bread over the bread which is baked from the species that is mentioned earlier in the verse. So I mean, if he has no preference, so let's go by the verse, right, or whatever first, wheat, right? Or is preferred for the preferred for the blessing because of some other advantage, whatever advantage is it, so he can go by his with his mind. All right, I think we can stop here. I think it's too much information the way I see it. Okay, so very interesting. I also learned now this Mishneh Berurah. So I think it's very beneficial for us to go over the all of these ideas, because not ideas, all of this halachas, Shulchan Aruch, Mishneh Berurah, before we go to contemporary. And sometimes you see contemporary, and you say, why would you say that? Shulchan Aruch says clearly that's not the case. Mishneh Berurah confirmed. Rema said no, but they tried. I don't know. It's a business, I guess, agenda. All right. So thank you very much. Good Shabbos until Be'Ezrat Hashem Sunday night. Be'Ezrat Hashem. Thank you.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Thank you.